That was a familiar theme song to TV viewers between 1957 and 1961. And for anyone who listens to this show, when you hear that music, you know it's time for another visit with Tom Brewster, a.k.a. Sugarfoot, a.k.a. Will Hutchins. Welcome back, Will.
Sometimes I'm referred to as Sugarfoot.
Well, we're off to a good start this afternoon.
Oh, by the way, you know, American Film Institute's always coming out with these 100 best this, 100 best that.
Yep.
And not too long ago, they had the 100 best TV series of all time. And guess how many Westerns were on that 100 list?
How many?
Take a guess.
I'm going to say a half dozen.
Zippo North.
That's ridiculous.
Number one was Friends, and that gives you an idea. They must have just interviewed the
millennials or whatever.
Millennials, yeah.
Oh, there are so many Westerns that should be on that list. I mean, Gunsmoke, Maverick, Bonanza. I'd put Sugarfoot on that list. Heck,
well, it's on my list, my own private list.
Sure, and Bronco and Cheyenne.
Oh, yeah. And Have Gun Will Travel and on and on and on. In fact, I could come up with a list. Oh, I did the intro for Boyd Major's book, Gathering of Guns.
Uh-huh.
And it's the most thorough history of TV Westerns ever printed. He's got around 200. I think up to now it was about 134. But he's got about 200 of them. And I wrote one of the intros to it. So, plug Gathering of Guns. Well, I've got a Western story to tell you.
Okay.
Not keep it confidential, entre nous, okay?
Yeah, okay.
I had a throat operation a few years ago over at St. Francis, and every year we go to the survivors' brunch, and I hope they keep inviting me for many, many, many years to come.
Yeah.
And so I'm one of the survivors. So I noticed on the program I was supposed to give a little talk, so I told Babs, we better get over there. I'm supposed to go on around 11. So we went over there, and it was a Western theme. So Babs and I really duded up. Now, Babs didn't have to do much because she's Long Island's designated cowgal. She's always dressed like a cowgal. But I had to find my boots and try to borrow one of her kerchiefs, gesundheit, and so I got duded up too. And I had a good hat. That's the main thing, get a good hat.
Right.
So I went over there, and I was all ready to get out there and talk and express my great admiration and love for the medical profession. I mean, it was a journey toward health, but also a spiritual journey. I mean, I didn't realize such a wonderful calling in the medical profession. And I wrote a haiku about it. My doctor's name is Marotra. So the haiku is 5 syllables, 7 and 5. So, Dr. Marotra, I'm cured. One problema. I miss the nurses. That's the way it goes. Because they're nurses. Oh, no. I took a turn for the nurse. They were just beautiful. And so anyhow, I'm there ready to go, and a guy comes up to two Wranglers come up to me. What are these guys doing there? You can tell they're Wranglers. Do you mind riding into the tent? I mean, it's an outdoor tent, but they're covered in the outdoors. You can see right outdoors. It's no partitions or anything. So the little voice in the back of me said, "Don't do it, run, don't do it." But the two Wranglers, I couldn't disgrace Sugarfoot. Me, I could disgrace, but not Sugarfoot.
Right.
So I said, "Okay." So we went over behind some partition, thank goodness. And they said, "They're going to have any trouble getting up?" And I said, "Well, confidentially, I haven't been on a horse in 25 years, and it's not like riding a bicycle, as you well know." They said, "Don't worry, this horse is just like a camel." His name was America. He was when you save an animal, he's one of those.
A rescue.
Yeah, rescue horse.
Yeah.
And I felt like a rescuee there. And so he's just like a camel. So he got down on all his haunches. I felt so silly. And I just put my leg over and got in the saddle. And they said, "Up, boy." I went, "Vroom, jolt." Oh, ugh. I said, do you have time to change my pants? No, you got to go out there. And so the horse was gentle and went out there. And they introduced me. And so I get up right near where the mic is, and I can't get off. My leg, the stirrups, I think, are too short. You know how you say a cowboy should be one with the horse?
Right.
Well, I was one with the horse. I couldn't get off. So they had to pry me off. And I finally got off. And Babs wished she'd had her camera to take pictures of this humiliation. But I carried on, and they're playing my theme song. And you know, like kids when they are play like they're on a horse, they clap their thighs and go clump clump. So I did that. I went up to the mic and pretended I was getting off. Whoa! And pretended I got off, and patted the horse and gave him some sugar, and went on from there.
Along with a heart full of song and a rifle and the volume of the law.
When I mentioned on the air that you were going to be joining us again, I had a listener who calls himself the Fell Monster who wanted to know if you remember anything about working with Venetia Stevenson.
Oh, yes. Oh, I loved her. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
She did 2 Sugar Feet, and then, of course, we were under contract at Warner's, and I saw her quite often. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and her mother, of course, is Anna Lee. Remember her in the Ghost one, the Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
Oh, yeah, yeah. When you were coming up at Warner's, well, Babs isn't listening, I hope.
She's got a friend, and they're on the laptop.
Oh, okay.
You know. Today you said your biggest peeve is when you're trying to concentrate on something and somebody keeps interrupting you, keeps wanting to talk to you, and you go, you try to give them the message.
Right.
Well, that's the ways when Babs works her laptop. Now, that's the greatest thing in her lifetime. And I try to just ask her a question or something. I'm trying to look up this thing on the Google. It's the greatest invention since indoor plumbing. I mean, it's just sensational with her. She and her friend are looking up things on the laptop now.
Okay. Well, when you were at Warner Brothers, I mean, there were so many gorgeous starlets that were working around. Your head must have been on a swivel.
I've never told this to anybody, so keep it confidential. Okay,
sure. Just between us.
You go there in the morning for makeup, and you wouldn't know one movie star from another. Everybody looks alike until they get the stuff slapped on their face.
And then they're knockouts. Now, I don't think we've ever talked about this. You may have written about it in your column, the Western Clippings column, but you worked with Bruce Lee.
Oh, yeah, the very last Blondie show. Pick on a kid your own size or something. My son, Alexander, came home from school crying because the school bully beat up on him. So I went over to ball out his father, and his father turned out to be the actor Bruce Gordon, who played Frank Nitti on the Untouchables. Right. You know, the ace gangster type. So he ushered me into the house, and I bawled him out. I said, "You can't do it. My son, and you teach your son." And he, blah blah blah, get out of here, yeah, bum. Yeah, gave me the bum's rush. Right. So I went to Bruce Lee to learn martial arts so I could defend myself and my son's honor. And we made up a lot of stuff. And I didn't know anything about him except he played Kato on the Green Hornet. He wasn't really that famous yet. He wasn't the Bruce Lee yet. Right. But he was just awfully wonderful to work with. So he taught me all this defense and offense, and he says, now you have to strike fear in your opponent, and you assume the position, and you go, yosh! So, okay, I'm ready. So I went over there, knocked on the Bruce Gordon's door, not Bruce Lee, Bruce Gordon. Right. He ushered me in again. I said, I'd like to talk to you some more about our problem. He says, go right ahead. So I assumed the position, and I went, yosh! And he looked at the camera and shrugged and looked at me and he went, yosh! And I looked back at the camera and I went, yo-oh. And all the suits from New York were there, and they were laughing all over the place. I said, oh, this is great. Boy, we're picked up for sure. Well, that was our last show. But Bruce Lee, working with him, he was in a whole different element from what I was used to. He had one thing he did. A bunch of us gathered around between takes. He says, hold your hand out at waist high, your palm up. So I did. He says, now he put a penny in my hand. He said, I'm going to try to swoop down like an eagle and grab that penny before you can clasp your hand. want to do that? And I said, this guy, poor guy, he doesn't know he's dealing with a fast drawer. I'm so fast on the draw. He doesn't realize my instincts. Okay, and I felt sorry for all these people. So he said, you ready? And I said, yeah. And he went, yep. And I closed my hand, and I still felt the penny there. He said, open your hand. I said, you sure? He said, yes. People watching. I said, okay. I opened my hand, and there was a dime. So that guy was something.
Oh, yeah.
And he would do things like he would whip his leg out. We were indoors on the sound stage. He'd whip his leg out or his arm out. He had his own system. He didn't use karate or jiu-jitsu or anything. He had his own system. So he'd whip his leg out and his arm out, and it would sound like the wind. It sounded like Jack Nicklaus hitting a drive.
Right.
And I tried it, and I went, ooh, ow, that hurt. Ooh. So he was an amazing guy. If I only could get a hold of that tape. I've got a few Blondies, but I don't have that one. And it's kind of a classic, one of those lost gems. And if I could I'd pay untold a fortune to get a hold of that show. It was just terrific. I only got to see it once.
You also did, I don't know how many actors can say this, but you appeared on Perry Mason and then in the revival series of Perry Mason. Now, you were two different characters.
Yeah, right. I did the Raymond Burr Perry Mason at Charlie Chaplin's studio.
Oh,
was that a thrill to work at the Charlie Chaplin studio? And God, that was such a thrill to work on that lot. And Raymond Burr was a peach of a guy, and Gail Patrick produced it. She was wonderful. Like, I was a murderer. I shouldn't tell it, I guess. I guess no one would suspect Sugarfoot of murder, you know. So it was right after Sugarfoot, you know. So that was a great experience working on that. And then Red Skelton eventually bought the studio.
Right.
So then they did it again over at 20th Century Fox, and Monty Markham now played Perry Mason, and I was the red herring. I didn't do it. but guess who played my daughter?
Who played your daughter?
Jodie Foster played my daughter.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I didn't know who she was at the time. I mean,
right.
Jodie was a sweet little girl with her mother.
Yeah.
And her mother there. But the big kick I got, it was working with Dean Clark and Italian actor so famous in his day. They were both regulars on the Perry Mason show. One was the detective, one was the lawyer. I can't remember the other guy's name.
It's Harry...
Harry Guardino.
Guardino, yeah.
Boy, my glad you're there. Baz won't talk to me. She's on the laptop. But anyhow, Harry Guardino, and I said to Harry, you know, I met you once at Jack Nicholson's party at his house. And he said, oh, yeah? And I said, yeah. And you had two girls with you, too. He said, yeah, yeah. Knowing me, I probably didn't get to take either one home. And then Dane Clark was there, and he was great at Warner Brothers. He was one of the Warner Brothers a cadre of great actors at one time. And he said he worked there with John Ridgely. Do you remember John Ridgely?
Mm-hmm, sure.
He played Eddie Mars in The Big Sleep, and he played the doomed captain in Air Force. He had great parts, but he never quite got to be a star. You know, they give him these good parts, but never quite star roles. And sometimes they give him little parts. And of course, the guy would say, "Don't worry, John. We'll fix it up when we're shooting." You know.
Right.
And I say, if you want security in life, don't go into the acting business. Run a mortuary or something like that. Yeah. There's no security. So
no.
So he said he went crazy there. He went crazy because he's up and down like the stock market. He said so. A few years after he left the Warners, he was in like Chicago, some town like that, going to a nightclub. Got out of the cab, started walking to the nightclub, and this stumblebum came out of the shadows, asking for money. And he had his hat out, and he wanted some money. And Dane looked down on him, and the guy looked up at him in horror, and went back and was swallowed up by the alley, never to be seen again. And that was John Ridgely.
Wow.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Yeah. You know, sometimes when I see your performances, and I don't know if this guy was even an influence on you, but sometimes you remind me a bit, especially when you're playing a heavy, of Cagney.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, my hero.
Oh, I didn't even know.
No one ever said that to me. That's the greatest thing, everybody. Hey, Babs, he thinks I remind him of Cagney. I think she just fell on top of her laptop.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know if that was a conscious thing, but
No, it wasn't, because he's beyond me. I mean, I just can't believe how great that guy was.
I'll tell you, when he was teamed up with Pat O'Brien.
Oh, God, they were great together.
I mean, my favorite, Angels with Dirty Faces.
Oh,
is my
that ending
favorite.
to that one.
Oh, my God, that's one of the greatest endings ever.
Oh, and I'm sure, you can argue with this, because, Pat O'Brien looks up and says, thanks, God, because he blew it. But I think he did it on purpose so that the dead-end kids would straighten up a little bit.
Yes.
But you can interpret it both ways.
Yeah, you could say that, he finally broke down, but I like to think that because he wanted to help those kids at the last moment, such a great ending.
I'm getting the chills
I
again.
know. And speaking of great endings to movies, and you mentioned working at the Chaplin studios before, the ending to City Lights. The
great James Agee has the greatest write-up on that. He calls that the greatest moment in the history of movies.
I believe it.
Where the little match girl realizes that he's the rich guy.
Yeah.
Because now she can see.
Yeah.
And she says, it's you. And he says, yeah. Hey, I'm tearing up right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Babs, come to my rescue. and there was some great critic once said that the artist has only one job, to see, to feel. And I'd add, and to make the audience feel.
Yeah. Yeah, he does it in the Gold Rush too. The whole dream, where he invites the girls over, God. and they're mocking him. He doesn't realize it though, and he prepares a big banquet for them, and then he has his dream that he's entertaining them, and that's where he does the famous dance of the rolls. Yeah. And then you realize they never showed up. It was all a dream. He's just sitting there alone and you just want to crawl under your seat.
But at least it has a happy ending.
Yeah, it does.
And you wrote all that great music too.
Oh yeah. And that was the theme to Perry Mason, one of the many, many TV shows that Mr. Will Hutchins appeared in that we were talking about today. And we're talking about all sorts of things, Charlie Chaplin and Jimmy Cagney. Getting back to you, though, now I don't know if this is true because it was kind of hard to see, but did you appear in a movie called The Romantics?
The long lost and long forgotten, never reviewed. It was just about 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's on the internet.
The lady is visiting us, Alice. We stayed at her house. It was out at North Fork, and we were extras. Babs and me were extras in it. But the casting guy looked up my bio and he said, maybe we'll get you a reading, a part to read in this thing. So I just went out there. And it was fun out there in the North Fork, and it was a woman director, Garth, a German name, can't remember. She was wonderful. But the way they make movies now with all the computers and stuff,
yeah, you
don't even see the director most of the time. They're off in some other room or something, and everything is computerized. You're all hooked up to everything. And Josh Duhamel was in it, and what a great guy! Of all the guys I've ever worked with, he was one of the. He was just a peach of a guy. I played his grandfather,
right?
And I was in the wedding scene, and Babs got very upset because it rained. It was supposed to rain, so they got these hoses and wet down on all of us people at the wedding. And she complained and yelled and screamed and. Don't mess with Babs, I tell you. And she called up our agent and bawled him out because he hadn't told her, and she wrecked her dress and all that. So we never heard from him again. That was it. But I had a lot of fun. We had the wedding pre-wedding dinner.
Right.
And they gave me these lines. She wrote these lines on this like a cocktail napkin, all kind of soggy.
Right.
And I was supposed to memorize these lines right on the spot. One nice lady extra was helping me because I had to come up with this stuff, and so I made up a lot of stuff because I can't remember. They don't call me 20 take sessions for nothing. But anyhow, I got up there, and Babs was in the scene, and she thought I was just great. She doesn't give me that many compliments, but she thought I was great in this. And I never dared look at the movie. We have it, but I haven't dared look at it. And Bab says they cut me out down pretty. They cut me down to size.
Right.
But they did leave in a few bone marks on my part. So they didn't cut me out entirely. Well, that was that one.
Yeah, because it has a couple of big stars, like you mentioned, the Josh Duhamel, whatever his name is.
Josh Duhamel,
and then Katie Holmes.
She produced it.
Okay.
And Bab said she was laughing at my stuff, so that's always nice to make the producer happy.
Yeah. But I'm looking at her. Boy, she was a young girl.
Candace Bergen was in it.
Oh, that's right. What am I? I'm leaving out the biggest name. Yeah,
what a thrill that was, working with her. Wow.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I found the movie online.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but it's in Italian.
It probably improved on my performance.
Quando Tommy mi ha detto che avrebbe sposato la dolce Laila, ho risposto: Tommy, ragazzo, sei un fortunato.
Do you remember that show, the Roaring Twenties? They did at Warner's in the old days.
Yep.
Well, I played a flagpole sitter in that one, so I was up in the flagpole the whole show, and it came out, and I saw it, and I said, that was okay. I didn't think I was anything special in it. Then I went to Japan, and I see in the Japanese newspapers they're showing that episode that night. And so I didn't want to tell. I was in a bar, and they're showing some. I'm not going to say, "Hey, can you mind turning to Channel 7?" I was just a newcomer to Japan. I didn't want to disrupt it.
Right.
So I went out on the street, and I was running all around like a chicken with his head off. And the Japanese are so polite. A guy came up to me and said, "Pardon me, sir, is there something I can do?" Well, I told him, I said, "I'm on TV in about 15 minutes. Is there any way I could see myself?" He said, "Come with me." So he takes me to his girlfriend's apartment, and they turn it on. And I was dubbed in the Japanese.
Right.
And I swear that Japanese actor improved on my performance. He had much more energy, and he made this stuff really come to life.
There's a story. I don't know if it's true, but they say Jerry Lewis is in France. They
love him.
They love him over there, and I heard that part of the reason they love him is the guy who dubs him over there.
Oh, God, I'd love to see that. Oh, I'd love to see that. Well, he was my big hero when I was a kid, Jerry Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
And I got in the Army. I was in the Army, and they had a celeb golf 9 holes at Rancho golf tournament, course, across from 20th Century Fox. And I was in my uniform, so I got in for nothing.
Right.
And it was 4 guys, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Jerry Lewis, and Dean Martin playing golf.
Wow.
And I followed them around. And I was surprised. All 4 guys are very good golfers.
Yeah.
And Bing Crosby was in the sand trap right near the putting green. He hit the ball out too hard. He said, "Somebody stop that ball." He wanted one of the crowd to stop his ball. And he looked over at me and gave me a big wink. And, oh, boy, that was a thrill.
Sure.
So most of the time I spent following Jerry Lewis around because I said, maybe I can learn something from this. The guy was nuts. I swear he was nuts. He kept talking to himself all the time. And he was doing all this joke stuff, but then when he was just going to his golf ball and he didn't think there was anybody paying attention, he would talk to himself. And I thought that was very interesting. But comedians, to be a good comedian, I think you have to be pretty crazy along with it. It doesn't hurt.
Possibly. I know he just turned, 91 or something like that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I know that you're friends with Clint Walker, who just turned 90.
Just turned 90.
Yeah.
We did. Babs and I did a iPhone thing for his birthday party, and I guess they put a lot of stuff together from people all over the country.
Right.
And I want to get a hold of that. I just want to see what that looks like.
I was going to say with Clint Walker, I saw. I guess there was some interview with him that's fairly recent.
Uh-huh.
And he still looks like he throws tractors over buildings for fun. What a big guy! Good Lord.
Oh yeah, he was. I don't think he was quite so tall as Jim Arness, but he had a V shape.
Yeah.
It was Jim Arness's kind of I shape.
Right.
And he calls me up once in a while, and I had that illness a few years ago, and he gave me all this stuff to take, and when I was at Warner Brothers, I followed a lot of his advice, and to this day I take a little bit of cider vinegar and honey every day in warm water,
Yeah.
And that's kind of an elixir of sort.
Oh, okay.
So I advise that to all of you out there, folks.
Yeah.
Cider vinegar and honey and a glass of warm water every day.
There you go.
And maybe a shot of whiskey on the side. Never mind.
Well, listen, we're gonna wrap it up here.
Well, I've been interviewed over the years, and you're the greatest. I mean,
Oh, well,
I don't know what there is about you, but I've always been kind of uptight, tense. And then I worked with Betsy Palmer for 5 years, and she loosened me up considerably.
Right.
So I guess you get the benefit of that a bit.
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You're the best guest we've ever had on this show.
You said that?
I've said it before, absolutely.
And now you're going to send me a tape of that?
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? The whole world's going to get that. I've never been called the best of anything.
Thanks so much, and listen, Will, God bless you, and have a great, great rest of your day.
I shall, and to all your listeners, a big Sugarfoot howdy hand clasp with surgical gloves.
All right, there he goes, ladies and gentlemen.
Clop, clop, clop,
Yep.
clop, clop.